I've been thrown back into the Stone Age, and today I'll try to survive here for a whole year. But just like in real life, you can't just punch a tree and get wood. First, you need to gather stones and carve out your tools. Every single resource is incredibly hard to find and extract. Mines can collapse at any moment, and crafting even a single iron pickaxe takes hours of smelting right alloys and forging them. And that's not even mentioning the weather, which can wipe out our shelter in an instant. Or the cold and thirst that always strike at the worst possible time. Alright, our survival begins here in a meadow. Hunger and thirst are crucial, we always have to keep those bars full, otherwise the debuffs will kick in. As you've probably guessed by now, punching a tree with the bare hands won't work here. Instead, we have to pick up stones from the ground, and usually sticks can be found under trees. If we carve the stone just right, we'll get a primitive axe head. Combine it with a stick and we've got our very first tool. It's slow, but the stone axe gets the job done. We'll need logs later for a campfire, but for now, let's keep gathering sticks and exploring the area. Almost forgot to mention, there is also an atlas in our inventory. It works like a map and we can mark discoveries on it as we go. There is a river nearby, so I'll head toward the trees. We need to start thinking about how to safely survive the first night. Oh wow, a wild tomato! Food is never a bad thing. I'll grab everything I can for later. Rivers here actually have currents, so we have to be careful. Sometimes they can get dangerously strong. By evening, I wandered into a swamp biome. I quenched my thirst a bit and kept scouting the area, since we'll most likely have to spend the night here. Pretty quickly, I stumbled upon an interesting flower. The guide says clay is often found beneath it. I carved out a shovel head out of stone, attached it to a stick and crafted a new tool. After some digging, I finally found clay, one of the most important resources. With it, we can craft vessels and molds for smelting tools. This works much like stone, except we carve from clay instead. For now, the most important item is a jug, so we can carry water with us. It's starting to get dark, so it's probably the best to set up a camp here for the night. With 2 sticks, I can craft a primitive fire starter. I cleared a little area and using 3 sticks and 1 log tried to light a campfire. It didn't work on the first try, but eventually I got it going. At least now we'll have some light and a bit of safety. I'll keep feeding logs into it through the night to maintain the fire. Oh, and about the clay jug. I crafted it, but we still need to fire it before it's usable. For that, we'll need a pit kiln. I carved out a knife and started gathering the grass to make straw. The process is simple. Place the jug into the pit, cover it with the straw, then pile logs on top. From sticks, we can also make torches, which are super useful for lighting kilns. There we go. Now all we have to do is to wait for it to bake through. I thought about exploring more, but the night was just too dark. I stayed close to the fire, dug up more clay and waited until morning. By the time the sun rose, the pit had finished burning and the ceramic jug was ready. Now we can finally carry water without worrying about finding rivers all the time. Now we need to find a cave, some place to shelter and store resources. After traveling for a while, I reached the forest and came across a small cave near a pond. Perfect spot for a base. While exploring nearby, I even found my first ore, sphalerite. 1 nugget gives 10 millibuckets of zinc. We don't need it right now, but I marked it on the atlas for later. As night fell, I returned to the cave and lit a fire. Man, the lightning here is insane. Hope this storm doesn't hit us. Great, now the fire won't even light. I really don't like this. The storm lasted until morning. Once it cleared, I gathered more stones and sticks, carved a large clay vessel and 2 smaller ones, and placed them in the pit kiln to burn. Perfect, now it's just a matter of waiting. Before nightfall, the vessels finished baking and it was the right time to start setting up our shelter properly. Night came, but instead of wasting time, I went out to chop more wood. We'll need plenty for building a house soon. By morning, I reviewed the areas I'd already mapped and set out again. With stone tools we won't get far, we need stronger materials. On the way I found pumpkins and melons, always useful for food. It's already getting dark and I still haven't found copper. I need it for a pickaxe to mine deeper. Wait, is that silver? Might be useful for alloys later. Let's mark it on the map just in case. Damn, pitch black. At least I've got a torch, but it barely lights anything. Just hope I don't run into a sleeping bear out here. By the end of the night, I made it back safely. Didn't find much new, but I did figure out that melons can be sliced into pieces, while pumpkins probably need cooking. The next day I kept chopping wood and decided to plant the tomato seeds I'd saved. Using a carved stone hoe, I tilled some soil near the water and planted them. Growth depends on the biome and moisture, so we'll have to just hope they sprout. And now the rain's starting. Hopefully it doesn't turn into anything worse. I'll wait it out in a cave, it's the only real shelter I've got. By the next morning the weather cleared and I set out again. Not far from base I found tetrahedrite. That's copper ore, though at first I didn't realize it and kept searching. Another tetrahedrite vein. I'm not sure if I'll need it right now, but I'll mark it on the map anyway. As far as I know, climates can change drastically in different parts of the world, and oceans here can stretch for tens of thousands of blocks. Clearly, we need to explore a lot more. Copper can't really be that rare. Oh god. Oh no, please. Please no, run, please. This is exactly what I meant about wild animals. I could barely make my way through the darkness, and then out of nowhere a spear flew at me from inside the cave. At that moment I was terrified. Health here regenerates painfully slow, and with our poor diet my max HP had dropped even lower. And now the rain starts. I think we'd better wait the storm out in a cave. I really don't like this. By dawn, weather finally cleared and I headed back toward base. On the way, I even managed to hunt some meat. We'll see if it helps at all. Back at home, I lit a fire, roasted rabbit, and enjoyed the rest of the day at base. Turns out, pumpkins can actually be carved, so I made one as decoration. After 2 expeditions, I still hadn't found copper. We needed it, so this time I decided to travel far south. Maybe we'd just been in the wrong place all along. New day, and this trip feels more like a food gathering than ore hunting. The weather isn't giving me much confidence either. Those clouds look like they're forming right above me. I don't like this at all. Oh no, please! It's forming! I need shelter now, please run! Anything to hide! Oh my god, it's pulling me in! I'll try digging down, anything to cover myself. I've never seen this before. Please, let this be safe. I've never seen anything like this. A few minutes later, the tornado moved off. It didn't fully form, so I guess I got lucky. I carried on with the search. By evening, I found a cozy cave in the cliffs by a river. Perfect timing. Another storm rolled in, this one bringing hail. But inside the cave with my fire, I felt safe. By morning, skies cleared again, so I pushed further south. Just look at it forming. Unreal. I've never seen anything like this. Guess the hotter the climate, the bigger tornado risk. Doesn't feel safe at all. On the way, I came across a salt deposit that will let us preserve meat for much longer. Not far from it, I finally found a chunk of malachite. That's copper. All this time it was right under my feet. In the warmer climate, the soil also turned into a charred gravel packed with bismuth, very useful later on. Limonite too, perfect for the future. Let's mark it out on the atlas. There is so much of it here, it's like picking mushrooms. At that point, I was far from home, my longest expedition yet. Home, sweet home, finally. Time to sort through resources and figure out which nuggets could smelt into copper. I filled the vessel with tetrahedrite and malachite. I carved a clay mold for a pickaxe head and set it in the pit kiln with the copper. Since there was still space, I added 2 new jugs. My old one had already broken. We cover it with straw, throw in some logs, and in the pit next to it we'll have another large vessel. Space is already starting to run short, so we'll need more vessels at our base. Now it's just a matter of waiting. And when the copper is ready, I'll have to pour it fast before it hardens. Rain again. Hope it doesn't put out the kiln. The fire's out. Quick. Pour the copper into the mold. It worked. We even had 100 millibuckets of copper left over, enough for another tool. I broke the mold and finally had a pickaxe head. Attached to a stick, my very first copper pickaxe. You can't imagine how much easier this makes resource gathering. And of course, I didn't forget about the jugs. Water is always a priority. With clay running low, I went out near base to dig up more. By the way, I never explained, mining is dangerous here. Without supports, the whole shaft can collapse. To craft supports, we'd need a saw. Luckily, I had enough copper left for one more tool. So into the kiln went a saw mold and the same copper vessel. By evening, hail was falling again, but I waited it out. As soon as the fire died, I poured the copper into the mold and pulled out a saw blade. Exactly what we needed. With the saw, a whole new world of crafting opened up. Finally, I could turn logs into planks, huge milestone. With planks, I crafted my first workbench, unlocking a flood of new recipes. First thing I made was a tool rack, so much easier to stay organized. And with logs, I could finally craft support beams, the absolute must-have for safe mining. That same day, I remembered the spot I had marked with lots of tetrahedrite nuggets. I headed there, stocked up on water, crafted supports and ladders, and began digging down. Sure enough, rich veins lay hidden under the surface nuggets. But mining was dangerous. Any wrong move can collapse the shaft. And it did once, but luckily only one layer fell. After reinforcing with supports, I managed to pull up loads of ore. My inventory was almost completely full, enough to upgrade all my tools. By the time I got back, dawn was breaking. With all the new resources, space was tight, so I crafted a chest. Now that's better, so much easier. I filled the vessel with 500 millibuckets of copper, enough for 5 tools. I carved molds for the most important ones. A prospector's pick, a chisel, an axe, a shovel, and a hammer. All went into the kiln together. By evening they were done, and I quickly poured copper into each mold. I managed to finish all 5 before the metal hardened. Now, armed with real copper tools, I was ready for the next step. Explaining how each of these tools works would probably take too long right now, and it would be a lot of information at once. So let's start with the prospector's pick. With it you can find out whether there is an ore vein below and how large it is. It confirmed no vein below. This tool alone will save us countless hours when searching for proper mines. With copper gear ready, it was finally time to plan a real house. I hadn't stockpiled much on building material yet, so I decided to head out in search of the perfect location. I picked up wood, the main resource we'll need, and set off into unexplored lands. Might be a good idea to follow the coastline. I wonder if it'll lead to more resources, or maybe a way around this ocean. Strange, rare finds here, but not real veins. Suspicious. Gold. That'll be useful later when we move from copper to bronze. Shame there is no vein though. I got so caught up exploring that I completely forgot about food. My health started dropping fast until I finally found a wild tomato. It saved me and even restored some thirst. I refilled at the nearest freshwater pond and promised myself to stay close to rivers. Nope, not going that way. They're way too common. If I build a house, I'll definitely need reinforcement. After more walking, I stumbled upon a beautiful spot, a small lake right next to the chestnut forest. Guys? What the hell is this? Nope, I'm out. I'm hiding in that cave. Damn it, I just found the perfect spot and the first thing I see is a tornado. Guess I'll have to deal with it somehow. Great, and now hail too. This is not what I needed. By dawn, the storm had already cleared. I crafted some chests, sorted all my resources, and even found the wild potatoes. In places like this, vegetables show up more often, so at least we won't starve. Now it's time to think about what my future house will look like. I cleared out a small patch of land and used logs to outline the base. Later on I can split it into sections, which should make things easier. I still had some spare wood, so I cut it into planks and started building walls. Not enough for full height, just the first level, but it was a start, and that's what mattered. Next step, melting copper. I crafted molds for ingots, dug out a few smelting pits, and lit them up. While the copper was heating, I went off to gather cobblestone. That'll make a decent floor for the house, though I'd need a lot more. By the time I came back, the copper was ready. Before it cooled, I poured it into ingot molds. One step closer to crafting a copper anvil, so I could finally work stronger materials. For now, I stacked all my ingots in one corner. I'd need a ton of them. Turns out, if you mine andesite or any raw stone, you get usable blocks. With the hammer, you can even make a primitive stone anvil. That'll be important later for forging those ingots. But just as I was getting comfortable, another storm rolled in. And since I still had no roof over my head, I dug back into the cave. By morning, it was calm again. Nights here are brutal. I only had those potatoes left, and my health was sinking below 400. A river flowed next to my base, so I followed it downstream, fishing as I went. I needed to shift more toward meat if I wanted to survive long term. I didn't want to drag out the trip, so after a quick exploration and yet another night of rain, I got back alive with plenty of food. I cooked half of the meat right away and stored the rest in sealed vessel. That way it wouldn't spoil too fast. Everything I could eat immediately I kept packed up tight. Then it was time to get back to building. First priority, the floor. I dug out a massive cobblestone, just enough to cover the whole area. Expanding the land around the lake also made a sense. I'd gathered a pile of seeds over time. It was already midsummer, time to think about food for colder seasons. I had wheat and oats growing, but I'd definitely expand later. Still, the house has to come first. The walls weren't finished and there was no roof. That night I went out chopping chestnut trees. But instead of continuing the build, I used all the wood for the charcoal, stacked it carefully, lit it, then buried it under dirt. Once it burnt out, I'd have plenty of charcoal for smelting. The next day I finally kept working on the house. The frame was all logs, so progress was slow. By midday, most of the first floor was done. I expanded the land around the base, finished the flooring, added stairs to the roof, and placed some torches for lighting. The hardest part, the roof, was still ahead. That night the charcoal pit finished burning and I dug it out. With it now I can build a primitive furnace. For that I used cobblestone, fill it with the charcoal, lit it up, and now I have something way faster than the smelting pit. Fuel in the bottom, copper ingots on top, light it and wait. Once the ingots got hot enough, I'd pull them out and forge them on the anvil. But I realized I was missing something. Flux. Without it, I couldn't weld. To get it, I'd need seashells or rare stone types. Oh, and perfect. The furnace just lit the forest on fire. That's not good. At least I managed to chop the trees fast enough so it didn't spread. I grabbed some food and set out to search for flux materials. This biome had nothing but andesite. I'd need to travel. Hey ducks, do you guys even eat carrots? Wait, where did the third one come from? Well, nights aren't as dark anymore. Maybe that's a good sign. Not so scary walking alone now. For now, I had to focus. Copper? Funny, I used to think copper was the only smeltable metal. Wasted so much time chasing it. Eventually, I reached the ocean. The shoreline stretched for thousands of blocks, and rare resources could spawn here. Shells, for example, perfect for flux. I walked the beach for a long time, picking up all sorts of useful stuff, but not a single shell. Looked like I'd need to cross the ocean to find them. That would mean a serious expedition. For now, though, I turned back home. Gold. That'll be huge later when we move from copper to bronze. Not easy to find. Back at base, I sorted most of my meat and crafted more chests to finally organize resources. Valuables here, stones over there. Evening rolled in with more storm clouds. By night, the rain was pouring again. And without a roof, I hid in the same cave as always. This storm didn't last long, but I couldn't stop thinking about the roof. Cobblestone had to be the base. It was strong enough to stand against hurricanes, but I'd need tons of it. I started mining a massive chunk near the house. With my pickaxe, it took forever, but by the end of the night, the stone frame was done. For the main material, I wanted planks. Problem was, chestnut was all over this forest and it didn't look great, so I set out for new wood. Not far from here, I found a birch grove. That wood looked amazing. I chopped as much as I could carry. Well, there goes the axe. But hey, I farmed plenty of logs. Might even be enough. Back home, I started building again, but with no axe. I thought about smelting a new one. I cut a mold out of clay and was about to fire it in the pit when I noticed the clouds spinning on the horizon. My worst fear was becoming real. You know what? I'm pulling everything out of the pit. Smelting is not happening today. It's like it's only getting bigger. Maybe I should at least throw together some kind of roof. Anything better than nothing. I don't know if birch is strong enough, but maybe it'll block the wind. The rain's getting heavier. I don't like this at all. I might not even finish the house at this rate. Guys, it's already pushing me? No. Goodbye. It's so close now. Looks like it's coming straight at us. I'd better hide in the cave. Please let the house survive this. I didn't even finish the roof. Each second dragged on forever. The tornado was closing in and the fear only grew. The tornado was heading directly toward me. There was no escaping it. Its power was overwhelming. My house had no chance. Nothing was left. No, not this. This can't be happening. I spent all my time distracted, never finishing the house. If only I had reinforcement, maybe it would have helped. But now, nothing was left. By dawn, the tornado had finally drifted far away. As long as our resources are safe, that's what I'm worried about the most. I've never seen a tornado with that much power before. And now the house is on fire. Must be from torches. They catch so quickly. Oh, I managed to put it out. But this is insane. Our stuff is scattered all over the base. We need to get everything into chests before it despawns. All my resources just thrown everywhere. Honestly, I don't even know what to do next. I spent so long building the house, and now autumn is almost here. If these storms keep happening, we won't survive without a solid base. And it's not like we've stockpiled enough resources to rebuild properly. Looks like we'll need to move somewhere else. Somewhere with calmer weather. Besides, I've never even found flax to start forging proper ingots. I gathered the most valuable things I had left, mostly nuggets I'd found on the recent journeys. We'd need to find a new home, and soon. Winter was closing in. We had no house, and warm armor was still far from reach. Remember when I said it was cool to travel across the ocean to distant islands? Well, that's exactly what I decided to do. I crafted a boat, pushed against the current, and set off toward the ocean. I didn't know what awaited us out there, but I hope I wouldn't regret it. So this is it, the ocean. Salt water, just as I feared. Still, this might be our last chance to find a proper place for a home. Let's set sail. My water's completely gone. I just need to reach shore. Please, please. Oh, thank God, it's fresh water. I could have died if the ocean was only larger. Oh my God, it's not salty water. I'm saved. We'd been sailing north the whole time, and the north wasn't exactly welcoming. The shoreline was covered in snow, and most of the land was swamp. Not ideal, but I had no choice. I couldn't survive another journey back. Ending up in a freezing biome right before autumn was the last thing I wanted. What do we have here? Limonite. That'll be useful. And limestone too. Perfect. With this we can finally make flax. One less problem for the future. Night was falling, and who knows how cold it gets here. But if we keep heading this way, it'll only get colder. Already below freezing at night. The next morning I found a beautiful lake in the middle of the forest. The ground was swampy, but I couldn't waste any more time. I crafted some chests, emptied my inventory, and took stock of what little I had left. I don't even want to imagine how brutal winters will be. And food. Our supplies won't last forever. Eventually they'll run out. What then? Then I started clearing snow and tall grass, and lit a fire for warmth. I had no idea what temperatures here might be fatal, but I wasn't going to take chances. I shaped some clay into jugs, an egg smelt and prepped copper. We'd failed to smelt the egg's head last time, but now we desperately needed wood for shelter. Without a decent axe, I carved a stone one, anything to save time before the real cold hit. I spent the night guarding the fire pit until it burned out at dawn. Then I quickly grabbed the mold, poured in the copper and forged the next head. The leftover copper I cast into ingots. Perfect, 4 more ingots. That'll come in handy. With the eggs crafted, I got to work fixing the swampy terrain. While digging for dirt, I stumbled upon a huge deposit of malachite nuggets. Resources wouldn't be a problem here. Dirt though, that was crucial to replace the swamp and spread grass. My shovel eventually broke, but I managed to cover most of the base with solid ground. Finally, I marked out the foundation for small house. Nothing big, just something to keep out the cold. I chopped down fir, turned it into planks, and used them for the walls. By nightfall, the first floor was complete. Looking through my inventory, I found 2 large hides from the earlier journeys. If I treated them properly, I could make leather armor. Not only would it give some protection, but it might save me from freezing. To process them, I crafted barrels. Using a wooden bucket, I filled them with water. First step, soak the leather into lime water. That's where the limestone came in. Crush it into flux, mix with water, and you'll got a lime water. The hides went into soak. While I waited, I made more chests and sorted resources. I even carved a stone spear mold. Hunting might become our main food source soon. As for the hide, it's already soaked by now. Next, we need to process it with a knife. Then we repeat the same steps with the second piece of hide, and done. We're also gonna need 2 barrels. Fill them both completely with water, though for now we'll only be using one. The hide needs to be rinsed after treatment, so we just leave it there and close it up. I think now is a good time to work on the floor in our house. Cobblestone should work best for that. I only had enough to cover 2 halves like this, and for the middle section I gathered some small stones and filled part of the floor with lime cobblestone. Meanwhile, the hide has finished preparing. The last step is to make tannin for the final treatment. To do that, we throw a birch log into a barrel of water and let it soak. Since it was still daytime, I decided to explore the area around our base a little. By evening, the water was ready. Out of 10 buckets, only 1 bucket of tannin was left, but that should be enough. After this, we'll finally get leather, which we can use for making armor and more. While I was waiting, I also worked a bit on the ceiling of the house and added a staircase to the attic. We'll still need to build a roof later. Yes, 6 pieces of leather, totally worth it. With that, I crafted a full set of armor, helmet, chestplate, leggings, and boots. At least I wouldn't be completely helpless against the cold. Food though, I was running dangerously low. I had no choice but to hunt. Marking my base on the atlas, I set out to explore and find anything edible. The journey ahead would be long, but if I didn't stock up soon, I wouldn't last through the winter. The fields were completely frozen, turned into icy wastelands. A few animals still managed to cling to life in these brutal conditions, but we had to survive too, no matter what. Forgive me, but I really need food. At least now we'll have some quail meat to survive on. Cobblestone will come in handy for the roof. Let's gather as much as we can. I mined until nightfall before heading home. The trip gave me plenty of meat. Most of it I salted and sealed in vessels for long-term storage. The rest I cooked right away, enough to last for the next few days. The air feels colder already. We need to keep working on the house. For the roof, I chose fir planks for the edges. Love the way the wood looks, and stone for the main foundation. Halfway through, I finished the second section. Next came the walls. I used pine logs, stripped clean, which looked much better overall. I organized my resources, crafted doors for the entrance. And for windows, since glass would take forever to make, I used oak fences. Honestly, didn't look bad at all, and more importantly, the inside temperature rose. At least now we wouldn't freeze to death indoors. It was time to upgrade our tools. I lit a fire outside to keep warm while cleaning space for more builds. The goal: set up a primitive forge. We had enough copper to begin. I placed raw stone nearby as a makeshift anvil. Fired up the furnace with coal and tossed in 2 copper ingots. Timing was everything. I had to remove them just as they reached welding heat. Too long and they'd melt into nothing. The first attempt failed, but the second time I caught the exact moment, laid them on the anvil and hammered them together into a double ingot. The start of something big. To craft a real anvil, I'd need 6 more of these. I had some materials stocked, but only managed to weld 2 more. Out of copper again. Looks like it's time for another journey. I was out of copper, so I had to go look for a new deposit. Up until now, I hadn't really explored the surroundings much, and the only thing I'd found was lemonite. The sun was just starting to rise, so it was the perfect moment to begin. Nuggets were everywhere, though rarely part of a larger vein. Before long, I struck malachite, perfect for smelting copper. I crafted ladders and supports, then dug straight down. Soon I hit a flooded cave, so I shifted over and dug again, creating side tunnels. And there it was. Carefully reinforcing the walls, I mined out malachite. There was a ton of it, rich veins too. I stayed there for hours until my copper pickaxe finally broke. I had more than enough material, so I packed up and returned home. I sorted resources, crafted new molds, and decided to test an alloy, black bronze. Mixing copper with small amounts of silver and gold, I prepared 100 millibuckets of the blend. I buried molds and vessels in the pit kiln, covered them with straw and wood, and lit it up. While it burned, I went out chopping more wood for future stockpiles. By noon, all the molds were ready. Now all that's left is to put our vessel with the alloy into the furnace. It'll be heating here for quite a while, but as far as I know, there is a way to raise the furnace temperature and speed up the process. For that, we can use bellows. They blow air into the fire, making the flame stronger. Problem: crafting them requires 3 pieces of leather, and I only had 2 left. Since melting harder alloys would be crucial later, I started leather preparation right away. I soaked raw hides in lime water made from crushed limestone. Meanwhile, I smelted extra copper in the pit kiln. Fuel efficiency was key. Soon the black bronze was ready. I poured the first mold into a shovel head. Finally, a bronze shovel, our first tool upgrade beyond copper. Since everything is working so well, we keep making bronze alloys. This will be the last one though, because I've run out of silver. Still, I'd like to upgrade at least some of my tools while I have the chance. At the same time, we'll be smelting copper too. After all, our main goal here is to craft an anvil. Oh, the first batch is ready. Let's go ahead and pour it right into the ingot molds. At one point, part of the alloy melted, but the rest didn't. And for a second, I panicked, thinking I'd messed up with the ratios and ruined the whole mix. Because of that, I decided to use up the last of my silver just to at least melt something. By the way, let's not forget about the hide. We need to treat it now and then drop it into the water to rinse. And here's the final bronze alloy I managed to make. Now it's time to cast an axe head. We break axes pretty often. Oh wow, a black bronze axe. That's something I would only dream of. And copper is nearly done too. Now we've got enough ingots, all that's left is to smelt them together. Meanwhile, the hide has already been rinsed, so now we just need to soak it in tannin. Once the ingots reach the right temperature, we can combine them into double ingots. There we go, that's our 7th ingot. Perfect, we can finally craft a copper anvil. This is what we've been working toward for so long. The anvil looked incredible, our first real forge. From now on we could well double bronze ingots. The Bronze Age was about to begin. Minus 12 degrees Celsius tonight. Winter is right at our doorstep. I knew we had to stockpile even more wood. Coal was running low, so I dug a charcoal pit, something I hadn't done in ages. Meanwhile, the last hides finished processing. 4 pieces of leather, exactly what we needed. These bellows are going to save us so much time. Smelting just got a lot easier. There are 3 types of bronze. Black bronze, mix of copper, silver and gold. Bismuth bronze, mix of copper, bismuth and zinc. And regular bronze, copper and tin. I had only 1 cassiterite nugget for tin, but that would be enough for a start. Realizing I still didn't have a proper pickaxe, I used the bellows to speed up smelting a mold for one. The fuel burned out quickly though, charcoal was going fast. At least food wasn't an issue for now. Almost everything I planned before winter was complete. The cold ahead was still uncertain, but the calm weather gave me hope. By nightfall, the charcoal pit had burnt out, leaving us 47 pieces of coal. More than enough for now. Now it was time to smelt everything I had gathered so far. First up, bronze. A proper pickaxe was more necessary than ever, and I'd been forgetting to smelt one this whole time. One problem less. Remember the vessel I'd planned to use for black bronze? Well, now that we had bellows, there was a real chance I could actually get this alloy right, if I didn't mess up the proportions. As soon as the metal turned yellow hot, I knew it worked. We now had enough black bronze for 2 tools. I decided to pour a saw first, my old one was almost broken. And also a knife, which I used often but had been crafting from a stone until now. Slowly but surely we are entering the Bronze Age. The hardest part will be probably making an anvil. We definitely don't have enough material for that yet. Winter is coming, and with all the snow, finding nuggets on the surface is getting harder. But we can't stop, we have to keep progressing even if it's dangerous. We still needed copper for bronze, so I returned to the malachite vein I'd found earlier. This time we would need far more. Oh, wow, I'm lucky. No guys, at this rate I'm definitely going to die here. That was the most dangerous moment yet. I think I'd better get out. I kinda overestimated myself here. At least I managed to gather plenty of malachite. That should be more than enough for now. That same night I went back home, sorted my resources, and since morning was already approaching, I decided not to waste any time. Like I mentioned before, there are 3 types of bronze, and honestly we need at least one of them. The main thing is to find the right ores for the alloys, and that's the hardest part. Dawn already, let's continue our journey. Yes, a bison. If we can take it down, that'll be a lot of meat. Just hit it. Final strike. Got it. 12 pieces of meat. Totally worth it. There is plenty of malachite here too. Don't even need to dig. The problem is, I need other ores for the alloy. Night's falling, we need somewhere to keep warm. And now a snowstorm, not good. That night was harsh, the temperature was dropping, another 2 degrees colder and we'd start freezing badly. Even a fire didn't help much. I've started a second one, I can't even leave the spot. I'm terrified of the cold. 2 fires barely keep it above freezing at night. We need to get out of here fast. Every day the weather worsens. By morning I had to leave immediately. These expeditions couldn't last more than a day. Just make it home without freezing. This weather sucks. Made it. I just made it. Need to warm up. The trip yielded plenty of meat. Half I cooked immediately and rest salted for storage. Great, we even have rats nesting under the window now. Minus 12.5 degrees outside. I can't even imagine anything worse than this. Yeah, it's better not to go anywhere during winter. At least we need to stock up on basic resources and prepare for warmer seasons. Hunting gave me a large sheep hide. From it I could cut 3 pieces of wool, and we still had a raw hide left. With wool and straw we could build a primitive bed, though uncomfortable, so sleeping was tricky. At least it gave me a spawn point. I used leftover straw to insulate walls and made a spindle from clay. Fired it, attached it to a stick, and now I could spin the wool into thread. 24 pieces in total. Using wood, I crafted a loom. On it, I began weaving. 1 piece of woolen fabric came out, not enough for a proper bed, which required 3. Another hunt would be necessary. Looking at the atlas, I realized how rich our old lands were in resources. Here, almost every field and forest was buried under snow. Finding enough to progress into Bronze Age would be tough. The next morning I went out briefly to scout toward the ocean. Even the beaches were thick with snow. Daytime temperatures were already below 0. We had no safe way to travel. If we froze out there, nothing could save us, especially in the middle of the ocean. While exploring crafting options, I came across a wooden sluice. If I understand it correctly, we can use it to wash our nuggets from water. I built a small channel and placed the sluice at the end. Water flows through it, and all that's left is to dump some gravel for washing. But it didn't work. I tried studying it more, and it seems because we're in a resource-poor area. With a chisel and hammer, we can smooth stone. This is useful because it opens up new crafting possibilities. Using it, we can make a hand mill, as well as a hand stone. For example, we can grind almost anything this way. I don't really know why we'd need coal dust, but apparently it could help filter water. From clay I crafted a pot, fired it in a stove, and now it can be placed over the campfire. At first I thought we could use it to purify water, but it didn't really work. Still, I could use it to cook soups. I didn't have much besides meat, but even that allowed me to make some kind of stew. We'll also need bowls. After firing them, we can serve our bloody mix. Soups restore both hunger and thirst. Conveniently, one pot gives 3 bowls of soup. I decided it was a good idea to cook another batch. We had plenty of meat now, and I wanted to use it. I also had some wheat in reserve. Using the hand mill, I ground it into flour. Mixing it with water gives dough, which I then baked over the fire to make bread. Yes, our first bread of the whole survival. Pure bliss. I felt the light cobblestone didn't really fit the floor aesthetically, so I replaced it with a smooth stone. Much better. With nothing else pressing, I decided to spend the night chopping wood. As I said, we need to stock up on resources for the warmer seasons, and coal will still be essential. The main problem is that I can't leave the base for more than 1 day, and there is little we can do about it. Most likely come spring I'll head back to warmer regions. I collected all the coal that had burned up so far and started investing in the future. Previously we found limonite nuggets more than once. We can smelt them into iron later. It's not very useful now, but with nothing else to do I started digging a new mine. I found limonite quickly, and there were also rubies here. The problem is I couldn't mine them with my bronze pickaxe, but limonite came up perfectly. I set up supports and kept digging. I gathered a good amount of new resource. I'm not sure how much we'll need in the future, but at least we have a mine and an initial stockpile. Please? I made it. I'm back. My temperature is almost at 0. I really need to warm up right now. Back home I sorted the resources, fired some vessels, and started preparing for spring. I wasn't going to spend another season under such limiting conditions. Still, there is a chance we'll return here for new rare resources or materials. And it would be nice to make this place our seasonal retreat, a safe spot we can always return to. Next to the house, near the wall where I usually collect wood, I decided to build a small overhang. A cozy, safe spot with a second entrance to the house. I moved the bed upstairs, since it's not very useful on the ground floor. And don't forget the door, it turned out very cozy. Our bread has gone bad. We made way too much. It's probably better to sort the meat from the reserves now. It spoils faster. I think it's time for our last expedition before spring. I haven't explored the forest at all, and I'm curious what we might find. Evening again. Feels like I didn't find anything. There is just too much snow, and even if there were nuggets here, they'd be buried. Time to light a fire. At night it's -7 degrees outside. Still too cold to survive without heat. Nearby there was a small clay deposit. I was almost out, so it was a good opportunity to gather some while I could. By morning the temperature had risen slightly. I continued exploring, checked nearby fields, and even found a small wheat patch. That night I returned home. No new resources were found. I kept chopping wood, lit a new coal pit, and replenished our log supplies. They'll be crucial if we return here. This night was unusual. It was the first time the temperature didn't drop below 0. I didn't waste time. I stocked ready food and packed the chest with ores, tools, and rare materials like leather and limestone. I didn't expect to carry the whole anvil, but surprisingly it fit in the inventory. Well, I probably won't take everything, inventory space is limited. Before it got dark, I had to head toward the ocean to sail while there was daylight. All the fields are snow-covered. I can't even imagine if they thaw over the summer. I reached the spot I had scouted before. A long journey awaits. We need fresh water, unlike last time when I almost died of thirst. And off we go. I hope I made the right decision. The temperature here dictates everything. What a beautiful sunset. I hope we make it by morning. Oh, land on the horizon. This time the journey was even faster. Some snow remains, but it's much better than where we spent the winter. Now we need to scout the area and decide what to do. A river, just what we need to refill our water supplies after sailing. I thought a lot about our next step. Should we look for a new base or try to resonate the old one after the tornado? It seemed better to restore it since we could reinforce it immediately and not fear the weather. But how can I know if it'll protect us from another tornado? We've already explored most of the nearby areas, and resources will be easier to manage here. Along the way, I even found a new mineral called cinnabar. We can't mine it with our pickaxe, but we'll mark it on the map. It may be useful later. And we're almost there. We can see the ruins of our house. A lot of work awaits us to rebuild everything. Yeah, it's in pretty bad shape. Some resources remain, mostly building materials. We need to sort our things and at least add some lighting for now. A lot of work lies ahead to restore this place. At least the forge and coal pit are ready, one problem less. And the crops we planted didn't survive the winter. We'll find new ones closer to summer. It was time to focus on gathering wood. Previously, we had used chestnut as the main material for the walls. By morning, my inventory was already filled with a good amount of wood, and I began repairing the walls. Actually, it was much faster than planning a new build from scratch. I rebuilt the walls completely, restored the staircase to the second floor, and reinforced the locked trim. As for the roof, using wooden planks had been a bad idea. I decided to replace them with something sturdier. I cleared the roof entirely and took along my chisel and hammer. With these tools we can smooth stone and craft full blocks. I worked late into the night, but managed to gather more than enough material to avoid returning prematurely. That same night I started building the roof. By morning I had collected a bit more smooth stone and finally completed it. For the second floor walls I used planked maple wood, which looked quite nice. I still had some cobblestone for the floor, and with that the interior was almost finished. Windows were still missing, of course. As before, I replaced them with fences, which seemed to fit design perfectly. There was one main entrance and the back exit. Now the building was finally complete. Later, I plan to reinforce the roof with a second layer of stone. For now, I focus on sorting resources and organizing our living space. I made a batch of clay vessels and placed them in a pit. They'll come in handy for food storage. There was also a large boulder we couldn't fully cut down. I decided to cover it with the soil to make the area look nicer. Since I had some extra dirt, I even expanded our perimeter along the lake. Most of the resources were already sorted. The only thing missing was food, which was almost gone. I studied bronze crafting a bit, and I realized I didn't have all the necessary resources. Regular bronze needed tin, black bronze gold, and bismuth bronze required bismuth. The upside, once we find one vein of this, obtaining the other materials won't be a problem. Early in the morning, just as the sun was rising, I decided it was perfect time for a short expedition, not only for food, but for resources as well. We'll gather everything we can. As far as I know, jute will be very useful later. Sapphire! I found a sapphire! Do I even need it? Right there, 2 ores in one place, copper and zinc. That could be useful later. I didn't want to spend too much time traveling. I collected a lot of wood, mostly vegetables and grains. Also gathered a pile of seeds, which will be great for expanding the garden later. For now, no rush. The nights are still cold, so planting is best closer to summer. I remembered finding bismuth in the southeast regions, so our next trip would be there. For now, I waited for rain to stop, lit the furnace and started firing molds for ingots and preparing the new alloy. The problem was that I miscalculated the amount of bismuth, and instead of bronze we ended up with nothing usable, just a single useless ingot. Well, that's gone. As I mentioned, I had seen small clusters of bismuth in the south. The climate should be warmer and maybe we'll find something interesting besides bismuth. The journey was long and I only set out in the evening, traveling through the vast fields at night. By morning I spotted charred gravel rocks on the ground, slightly red in color, signs we were very close. Eventually I stumbled upon a beautiful red cave with bismuth nuggets right nearby, exactly what we were looking for. My prospector's pick even indicated a small vein. I marked the spot on the map and started gathering wood to equip myself for the mine. I crafted supports and ladders, then began digging. At first I dug straight down. I went quite deep but didn't find any ore. Normally I wouldn't start branching sideways, but again nothing. At the expected depth I set up a small mine with supports and resumed excavation. The prospector's pick was constantly pointing in different directions. I dug deeper and eventually followed one direction where the signal was consistent. The only problem, the pickaxe's durability was almost gone. After days of digging, I haven't found any bismuth yet, even though I had tunneled extensively. I had little choice left. I decided to try collecting surface nuggets. To my surprise, there were far more than expected. I realized I had been digging on the very edge of the marked vein. Its core had been there all along. For the final attempt, I dug downward one last time and uncovered the underground water cave. There was plenty of ore. It was bismuthinite. I dug a bit to the side, but the water made it tricky. In the end, I managed to collect enough mineral for the near future. Bismuth bronze requires only 10 to 20% bismuth, so it will suffice. I marked the spot for easier future access and headed home through a night train. The journey was long, but I returned safely. Back home I sorted the resources. With so much stone I decided to reinforce the roof. Honestly, it even looked kind of cool. As for the seeds, I figured it was time to start planting. Nights were warm enough now that they couldn't freeze. By fall we'd have a lot of crops. The garden turned out wonderfully diverse. For tools, I thought it was time to at least make some copper ones for now. Later, once we'll have all the necessary resources, we can make bronze tools. I moved the anvil outdoors to create a proper crafting area. Copper was ready, molds were set, and all that remained was pouring correctly. Finally, we had new tools again. Not bronze yet, but soon we'll have full bronze equipment. For bismuth bronze, we need copper, bismuth, and zinc. Previously, we found sphalerite deposits, which is the source of zinc. I reached the large sphalerite vein and started digging. First, I found the cave. Exploring it, I saw no ore, but when I started tunneling sideways, I discovered a hidden chamber full of rich sphalerite deposits. I secured the cave with supports and began mining. There was an overwhelming amount of ore, both rich and poor veins, perfect for future alloys. I filled a full vessel and part of my inventory, and now for a long time. I marked the mine with a pillar and headed home. How beautiful the sky looks at dawn. Home at last. We now had all the necessary resources for bismuth bronze. All that remained was combining them in the right proportions, preparing molds and vessels. Bronze takes a lot of time to heat in the furnace, so I focused on collecting wood near the house. I even spotted a new type of stone nearby. It turned out to be a hematite. In the future we'll be able to smelt it into iron, and since it's located so close by, that works in our favor. Meanwhile, the test vessel with bismuth bronze was ready. As I promised, it was time to upgrade both, our Prospector's pick and regular pickaxe. Prospector's pickaxe gained improved detection of large veins, and the new pickaxe's durability was twice that of copper. To continue advancing, we needed to craft a bronze anvil. That would require a lot of fuel, so I decided to start another coal pit. With all the necessary minerals on hand, we also continued smelting. Smelting several vessels at once was far more efficient and saved waiting time. The key was not to mess up with proportions, otherwise we'd have to go mining again. The first batch of bismuth bronze was ready. I made 400 millibuckets at once, thinking it would be enough to pour everything in one go. This way we'd accumulate enough ingots for the anvil, which we'd need a lot of. And as it turned out, this wasn't the only thing we needed to prepare for. I thought it would be a good idea to rearrange our workspace near the anvil. A stone floor would look much nicer. Plus, our coal pit was still burning, so fuel wasn't an issue for now. We started smelting iron ingots little by little. We heated them until ready, and then carried them to the anvil to forge 2 ingots at once. Perfect, now we still need to forge 6 more ingots. Alright, the last ingots are finishing. And this is the final double ingot for the anvil. 7 double ingots in total. Just look at that. Oh yeah. The bronze anvil was complete. We had officially entered the Bronze Age. Now we could forge iron ingots on it. The only problem was that our furnace wasn't enough to smelt iron. We'd need to build a bloomery, which required 8 double bronze sheets, each made from 2 double ingots. My copper reserves were running low, so it was time to venture out to mine more. It was just starting to dawn, so I gathered my resources and headed to marked vein on the map. Reaching the right coordinates, I dug downward, found a cave, and inside discovered a deposit of tetrahedrite, the mineral we could smelt into copper. I reinforced the cave with supports and started mining. I collected 2 full vessels of material this trip. That's how my little cave looked after mining. Time to head home. Back at base, I unloaded all resources. The only thing that's scarce was bismuth. Which we had barely mined before. So now we'd head south to gather as much as possible before starting large-scale production. By evening, I returned to the bismuthenite site, blocked the water, and mined cautiously. I quickly refilled the first vessel, then the second. We wouldn't return here soon. On the way back, I also chopped wood. Most of nearby forest was gone, so we needed to make the most of these trips. Back home, I organized the wood, sorted the bismuthenite, and started preparing minerals for bronze smelting. We would need a huge amount, twice that we needed for the anvil, and molds for ingots as well, since repeated use usually breaks them. May 8th already. This survival is dragging on. I have to reach iron, that's my main goal. This is how we make a double ingot. On this anvil we can forge a bronze plate, then a double plate. For now I'll keep smelting what I have and slowly combining ingots into doubles. We'll need a ton of them. And to give you an idea, all the smelting and forging takes me 3 hours, just to craft a small window for the bloomery. Turning a double ingot into a plate is a complex process. Gather the mineral, smelt in the furnace, pour into molds, heat the ingot, forge them into a double ingot. Heat it up again and then forge a plate from a double ingot. Only after that we can combine two plates into a double plate. I did it! I did it! I have 8 double plates! Oh my god, finally! What a relief, words can't describe it. Finally, we can craft the bloomery. The guide even has a separate section showing how to build it properly. We needed blocks of stone bricks. Although we can make bricks from stones, we also needed mortar, which is made by soaking sand in lime water. We had the barrel, we had water, but no sand in the river. We'd need to head toward the ocean where the beach has plenty. By nightfall, I reached the beach and gathered half a stack. Enough for now. That night I returned home, made lime water with flax and soaked the sand. Now we just had to wait. At dawn I looked into bronze crafting. There were many interesting possibilities. From a double plate I could forge an unfinished helmet. To complete it though, I needed a regular plate, but I had only one double plate left, so I postponed that project. I built a small awning over the workspace, leveled the ground nearby, and by then our sand had turned into mortar. From half a stack of sand I got 8 stacks of mortar. With bricks and mortar we could craft blocks. I decided the old furnace wasn't needed anymore, so I rebuilt it for the new setup. Only the hatch remained. Now it was ready. This is where we'd place iron nuggets for smelting. As you remember, I had found a hematite vein near the base. I marked it on the map. From it we could smelt iron ingots. Digging down, I quickly found ore and began extracting it. Oh wow. That could have been my last mining trip. I was seriously lucky. After that, I placed supports close together for safety. The vein though wasn't huge, but I collected plenty of material. I'll gather more if I return in the future. Those clouds over my house don't look trustworthy. Hell, I hope it's just a strong storm and nothing worse. Oh, this is what I feared the most. It's just starting to form. It's approaching, but it hasn't hit the ground yet. Looks like we got lucky. By morning, the clouds still lingered over our house, but no severe hail or rain followed. By this time, we had collected a massive amount of minerals. I remembered I had limonite at the base as well, which can also be smelted into iron. After sorting everything, I took some hematite, and now we needed to figure out how to use the bloomery. I understood we had to load an equal amount of ore and coal, so 6 pieces of hematite required 6 pieces of coal. Then we use our fire starter to ignite it. Great, now we'll need to wait 15 minutes. Quite a while, but for now it's the only way to properly smelt iron. I figured while we have some time, I might as well continue chopping wood. Our coal resources weren't exactly plentiful, so we had to keep that in mind as well. That night the hematite nuggets finished smelting. We now had raw iron bloom. To turn it into usable iron, it needed to be forged. But I didn't manage it perfectly, and it cooled too quickly. I'd have to reheat it. And this weather, the hell just keeps getting worse. And that cloud is still hanging over us. Oh no, please, please no. I really didn't expect this. Oh god, I'm not sure if we are gonna survive this. I reinforced the roof as much as I could, so now we're in for a real test. Luckily, the tornado had shifted slightly to the side after forming, and the base was fine. Yeah, it seems to be over in that part of the forest. Looks like we got really lucky. Just look at how massive it is. I guess that part of the forest will stay bare. As for the raw iron bloom, it needed to be reheated. Apparently, it wasn't strictly necessary to put it back into the bloomery, but it seemed like a good idea. We still had plenty of wood, so I went ahead and built a second pit for charcoal. The raw iron was ready. While it was still hot, we quickly forged it on the anvil. And now we have refined iron bloom. From this we could forge a proper iron ingots. Perfect! Just look at this, we have iron ingots. This is amazing. Over a year of survival has passed. It's summer now, but we've made it this far. To prepare ingots for forging, I used our regular furnace. I rebuilt it next to the work area with the bricks. I gathered a second batch of coal, loaded the furnace, and lit it. Iron ingots only melt at white-hot temperatures, which is the maximum this furnace reaches. That's enough heat to forge them. To make iron tools, we needed a proper iron anvil. Perfect, the double ingot is ready. We could expand the bloomery like this, letting us smelt more ore and coal at once. Not sure if that will be enough for everything, but if needed we can always smelt more later. While waiting, I smelted copper and bronze, casting a new axe since our old one was almost broken. I checked what else I could forge from ingots and even made a lantern. I thought I could light it with a torch, but it needed fuel, so I set that idea aside for now. Meanwhile, the raw iron bloom was ready, and forged wrought iron ingots one by one. I also raised the bloomery height and loaded another batch of hematite for smelting. While waiting, I went to chop more wood and spotted a cow nearby. There were actually two, right by our base. One cow and one bull. I thought we could lure them to the base and build a small pen. I crafted some fences and looked for a suitable spot on the base. This seems like a good spot right near the house. I leveled the ground and decided to attach the pen to the house as an extension. Considering the unpredictable weather, we needed to secure our future animals. It looked pretty good, and the stone roof added extra protection. I still had some wheat, but the cows didn't react at first. After converting it into grain, they became curious. Feeding them increased their familiarity with me to 6 units. When this reaches 100, the cow might get pregnant. But this is just my guess. A few minutes later, I led them into the pen. There is a convenient exit directly from the house. The raw iron bloom finished heating. We placed it into the furnace and slowly started stockpiling forged iron ingots. We heated the ingots and forged double ingots. Just look at this, 7 double iron ingots. That actually wasn't so hard. Cows, eat up, don't be shy. And finally an iron anvil. We've been waiting for this. The Iron Age begins, and you have no idea how many challenges lie ahead. I moved the old anvils aside, and now the iron one had its place. To test it, I heated the leftover iron. Now the possibilities were endless. I figured the most important item to forge first was the pickaxe. Forging it was tricky, and my first attempts were shaky. After a few more tries, adjusting distances carefully, I finally succeeded. Iron pickaxe had forged. We finally had the wrought iron tool. It took ages, and it wasn't even the end. Next up would be smelting steel, which seemed like it would be the hardest challenge yet. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Crafting this one episode took me over a month of real time. You can find mod pack in the description. As always, it was Skillux. See you next time!